was the summer of 2014, and for my son's bar mitzvah present, just like many Jewish parents, we wanted him to bond with the Holy Land. Oh, it worked perhaps too well. My husband had stayed back at the hotel, and our friends, my son and I, had just stopped in a pharmacy.
Run to the bomb shelter, sweetie, please hurry. I didn't hear the sirens at first, but the Israelis did. They're used to hearing these things. We ran to the back of the storeroom. It was a 12-foot by 24-foot windowless bomb shelter. My heart's pounding. Boom! Boom! I hear and feel the percussion of the exploding bombs. I'm trying not to get sick. I look at my 13-year-old son and I think I'll never forgive myself if something happens to him.
That's an excerpt from a speech I gave to the Orange County Jewish Bar Association. It was the first, but not the last time we had to run to a bomb shelter. Our adventure and my transformation is also the subject of my book, Blasted from Complacency, A Journey from Terror to Transformation in Israel. There is no chapter in a parenting book on what to do when a war starts and you're on a family vacation. Think touring extraordinary and sacred sites mixed with cowering in bomb shelters. I'm still trying to get over the Jewish guilt of taking my son to war for his bar mitzvah present. The impact of being human targets helped me understand the plight of Israelis living like this, and it also made me want to work on peace. How Israel is often described on the news is not what I'd seen with my own eyes. And I felt Palestinian parents also preferred their children playing safely in their backyards. The missiles exploded just near enough to blow apart my world as I knew it, forever changing me. And you'd never recognize my life today with what it was like then. I believe I found my life's purpose. Hello, I'm Penny ST, and I'm the host of Peace with Penny. In today's episode, we will be speaking with Roi Silberberg, the director of the School for Peace, located in the mixed village in Israel, Wahat al-Salam, Neve, Shalom, which is a unique and inspiring cooperative village jointly founded by Israeli Jews and Arabs. The School for Peace is an uncommon educational institution founded in 1979, offering Jewish-Arab encounter programs in the spirit of their mixed Jewish and Arab community. It is the first educational institution in Israel promoting broad-scale change towards peace and more humane, egalitarian, and just relations between Palestinians and Jews. The School for Peace works with Jewish and Palestinian professional groups, women and youth, creating a genuine egalitarian dialogue between the two people. Through workshops, training programs, and special projects, the SFP develops participants' awareness of the conflict and their role in it, enabling them to take responsibility to change the present relations between Jews and Palestinians. Although they have existed for over 40 years, unfortunately, in September of 2020, they had 2 arson attacks, and ironically, the School for Peace was burned down. Still, until this day, they don't know who committed the crime. They have continued teaching, holding classes, using other buildings there and within the town, and have fundraised to rebuild the school. They demonstrated their dedication and perseverance for peace. Roi Silberberg is the director of the School for Peace. He became a facilitator for groups in conflict in 2006. He holds an MA in Human Rights from the University of Malta and a PhD in Philosophy of Education from Haifa University. Promoting the Arab language among Jewish society is a very important goal for him, and he founded Amal, or Spoken Arabic for All, a nonprofit to promote the spoken Arabic language. We spoke with Ishmael Ben Israel in October last year, if you'd like to listen to the interview recording on our website. I'm excited to be speaking with Roi about this unique school in this very unusual combined village of Arabs and Jews. So let's begin. Welcome, Roi.
Hi, Penny. Pleasure to talk to you.
Same here. I'm gonna pull up this provocative picture we have of you, and we'll talk about it. we have this, what could be a disturbing picture to some of you on a tank as a child, and you grew up to work for the School for Peace. Can you talk about what you're doing in this picture and what you believe ultimately created your interest in peace?
I chose this picture to show you because I wanted to share how I grew up, how many children in Israel grow up, and maybe it's something about Israeli society, because this picture is very common for children in Israel. Like every Independence Day, when I was growing up, the army was like having, I know, I heard that there's such a thing as a military parade. So in Israel, there is like a military showcasing, like in the main square in Tel Aviv. It used to be called Melchei Israel, but then ironically and sadly, Rabin was murdered in this square, and this is a place where the army has all its tanks and other vehicles and big guns to show and to have children play with. And my grandparents used to take me every year for that. Here I'm maybe 6 or less. And with a very serious face, with a very big gun, like understanding my role in life and understanding where I'm going to. And the separation in Israel is such that I never talked to an Arab person, a Palestinian person, until very late in life. I will tell about that later maybe, but until the university, I haven't had the opportunity to really discuss life or discuss the situation with Palestinians.
Wow. In fact, that was going to be my next question. And in Israel, although Israelis and Palestinians live next to each other and sometimes work together, they don't often socialize nor speak the same language. How old were you when you had your first real interactions with Palestinians?
Okay, so that's exactly where I was going to. That's great.
Oh, okay.
I was studying a master's degree in neurobiochemistry in Tel Aviv University, and I happened to go to a course. I chose a course which is called Encounter of Identities, the Jewish-Palestinian Conflict. And I came in, something was weird in the room, and of course, I was late. And then I understood that they were saying that not everyone here could take the class because they need like a balance between Jews and Palestinians in the classroom. And I didn't understand exactly why, but like I stayed. And then later after the class, I told them, no, I have to take this class. So they told me, okay, so bring an Arab person with you. You can take the class. I went back to the biology building and I was like, okay, where do I find an Arab? I started asking around, and it happens to be that there was a doctoral student in the floor above us that her name was Nofa Tamne. Later, she won a very famous cooking reality show, MasterChef in Israel.
Yes, I have to talk to you offline because their film just came out, and I actually recently sent the director. I wanted to meet her to interview her for Peace with Penny. We'll talk afterwards. That's so funny.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yes, it just happened within the last few days.
Oh my God, that's really funny. It's really funny. Okay, so I approached her and she agreed, and we took the class together, and it was a course which was based on a dialogue of the School for Peace with School for Peace facilitators, which became important figures in my life. Dr. Neve, which was the director of the School for Peace for a period, and Ahmad Hijazi, may he rest in peace, which was also a School for Peace director and was very influential. And I took this class, and that class really changed my life in a way. After that year, I finished my degree in neurobiochemistry, but then I decided I want to change. I took a facilitator's course in the School for Peace. I became a facilitator. I applied for a master's in human rights, and I really changed my life. I went abroad for studies, and I decided that if I am in this part of the world, I need to live my life as such, and not like to have like a work that I can do everywhere else, or like to address the issues at hand. And I realized something in that course, that the situation is much more urgent and much more dire than I thought before, than what I was aware, and that I have a responsibility about that, and that it's a part of everyone's life, even if they're, they're not aware of that. They go about their daily business. The conflict is there, and one thing that I thought to myself is that I'm going to have children one day, and they would ask me, okay, you understood, you became aware, so what did you do? Like, I bring children to this world, to this place, not only to this world, and I need to have responsibility for what's going on. And so since then, I'm working on an alibi for what to tell them when they ask me, so what did you do? And this is a part of my work in general, and specifically in the work in the School for Peace.
Yeah, thoughts of our children often drive us to do things and stretch beyond what we originally thought we would be doing. I agree with you there. I can see how that easily happens. Israelis and Palestinians often don't speak the same language, and you founded them all, or a spoken Arabic for all. And as I mentioned, we've already interviewed Ishmael ben Israel from Amal, but how is the fact that the two sides don't speak the same language impact your school? What do you do about that?
This is a very sensitive point, but I will need to go, first of all, to our method. Like, how does it impact what? So what we do is
everything in Israel is complicated.
Yeah, well, it's true. No, it's simple. You just need to be said. So we conduct encounters between Jews and Palestinians, but those encounters are not just let's meet. We have some foundations, we have some setting that the meeting is based on. And the setting is that we meet as two groups. Jews meet Palestinians. And how we conduct the meeting, the encounter, and how we look at it, the perspective through which the facilitators look at the discussion, is through this group lens. So I, as Roi, I came into the course. I talked as Roi, it's okay. But the conversation was taking into the place that this Jewish person said those things. So how it is connected to relations between Jews and Palestinians. This is one thing. The other thing is that we try to make this encounter as much as we can on an equal footing. So both languages are legitimate in the encounter. So the person can speak either Hebrew or Arabic, and not other languages. And the number.
So you
is
don't
equal.
use English at all?
No, not during the how call it the group time. The number of the participants should be equal or about equal. There are two facilitators, one Jewish, one Palestinian, and so on. We try to make the place as neutral as possible and more technical things.
Sorry.
The last thing I think I will say is that we try to make the conversation, the issues, as much about the relations as possible, about the power relations between the two groups and how they come to practice inside our dialogue, our encounter, and in society outside. And we discuss the conflict. We discuss our life in the conflict. And these foundations allow for a much deeper dialogue, a dialogue that, because it's very different than the kind of conversation that goes on outside of the group. And it allows for participants to have a different perspective, to see what kind of possibilities of conversation could be had, if I say it grammatically correct. Yeah. And now I come into the idea, to the question, your original question of how the fact that there are two languages impact our dialogue. It's very impactful because the language you choose is symbolic to the power relations, as I said. There is no equality between the languages because mainly in Israel, inside Israel, Jews speak Hebrew and the Palestinians, they speak Arabic and Hebrew. And they usually live their life on the within, let's say, a Jewish, Israeli, Hebrew speaking job market or economical life, bureaucratic life, and so on. So the fact that we say both languages are legitimate doesn't create equality. One thing that we are aiming to change is to have the possibility of translation in every dialogue. And this allows for more Arabic to be present in the encounter.
You worked at the school since 2006 and became the director in 2020. Can you talk about what you did before and then now that you're director since 2020? What were you working on at the School for Peace?
I had several very interesting projects. I was a project director in the School for Peace, my last job, because before becoming the director of the School for Peace. And as a projects director, I had several projects. One of them, I would talk about 3 of them.
Okay.
One is the youth workshops. The youth workshops are for teenagers, mainly for 11 graders coming in with their school, like, I know, 30 pupils from a Jewish school and 30 pupils from a Palestinian school, and they come for 3 days to Wahat Salam, Neve, Shalom, to have a workshop with the School for Peace. And this workshop is done using the dialogue method I mentioned before. And there are three days in smaller groups, like there are 60 kids there. They are divided into 4 groups of 15 persons each, and they work like that for 3 days. And this is very intense experience for the kids and for the facilitators and for the project director of this workshop. And
just starting with teenagers or almost teenagers alone is an adventure.
It is an adventure, but there is some kind of energy of working with 60 people for 3 days. Like, it's hard to go to sleep at nights. Like I identified with the kids, you know, when you go on an outing of the school and you sleep outside, of course they stay up until late. But us as the facilitators, we also were like very into that energy. So I could identify with that. The second, I don't know if I finished saying all I had about that, but the second project I was the director of was a change agents course for literature teachers. It had a very great name, 2 people writing from right to left. And first of all, I need to say what a change agents course is. Change agents course means that you take a group of people from a certain industry or from a certain section of the population, and you do a dialogue group with them through the School for Peace
You're
method.
meaning like architects,
mixed cities, leaders,
therapists, lawyers, different groups like that.
Exactly, like professional groups, but also like the leaders of the mixed cities, as I said. And we do the dialogue with them. That's the first component out of 3. Then we have learning. We learn together about the conflict and how it's connected to our profession or to our section. And the last thing we do together is action. We do something in reality, in society, in order to influence to the better, in order to in a way that is connected to what we learned. So the literature teachers course, it was really great. And we did it many times, like maybe 7 times with different people. We were focused on learning and afterwards doing how to teach the literature of the other in the classroom. So for the Palestinian teachers, it was how to teach Hebrew literature to their pupils, and to the Jewish teachers, it was how to teach Arabic and specifically Palestinian literature to their pupils. So we had lectures and we had some pedagogical trainings and that, and then they went out and did that in their classrooms. It was really great. And the third project I was in charge of was the Mixed Cities project. What is the Mixed Cities project? We had a change agent course for leaders in mixed cities. So I don't know if you know, but the majority of people in Israel and Palestine, they live separately in their town or village or city or wherever their place of living. There is only people from their group. There are only Palestinians or only Jews. Besides a certain number of places which are called the mixed cities. Some of them are famous like Jaffa, and some of them are now notorious like Lud or Lid in Arabic. And this course is very special to me because it brings in very interesting people. People who choose to stay where they live and fight for it, and try to make their mark for the better. Those are people who want to be involved in their community, in the society around them, and to influence. And they could be activists, and they could be people from that their job is has some kind of influential potential, let's say. And the dialogue in those courses is really good. We did them 6 times. The dialogue is very interesting because it brings in people from many different, there are 7 mixed cities, brings in people from all those cities. We have some comparison of perspectives, and then we have lectures on how education in the mixed cities is done, the problem of violence and crime in the mixed cities, the religious groups, settler groups that come in, communities that come into the mixed cities and try to Judaize them. And the actions that people do, their projects, are also very interesting. I don't know if you have a picture of that, but there is the Jaffa Streets project of Rachel. She was in the previous course in 2020. Okay.
There.
Okay.
Or do you want this bottom part?
Yeah, but like I know it. Oh, but it's also in English, so it's good to see, because then they see it says Abu Issa there. And she had, it's an example of a graduate project that went really well. So during the dialogue, the group and Rachel became very aware to the fact that the streets name in the mixed cities, but in Jaffa specifically, are very Jewish and very Zionist. Very Zionist. This street name, on the left side, it says, what is, it's like a military rank, Rav Seren, I think it's Major. Major Baruch Sapir.
Oh, up here.
And then in the small print, it says where, who he was exactly. That's the name of the street, number 6.
Oh.
So
Okay.
in this street, in the mixed cities, there are Arabs who live there, and they have a name, and the street has a name over a guy that was a part of the Israeli Zionistic military. And we started thinking what could be done that would improve their feeling, improve because they have a feeling that they are erased, that nobody pays attention to them, they don't exist in the public sphere, and they're the fact that there are Palestinians there is inexistent. And the idea they had is to bring back the names of the streets of how they were before the Palestinian Nakba of 1948, before the establishment of Israel. And the name of this street before 1948 was Abu Isa. So they met a designer, an Arab designer living in Jaffa. Her name is Nawal Arafat. She became a part of the project as well. And they designed signs that could be put like out of windows, like here, to be hang out of windows, or to be put on the walls of buildings. And in this way, to have like a symbol sign that that Palestinians were here and that Palestinians are here, and to have memory of what was before. And this became a research project because they need to find out the names of the streets. They have a list of 80 streets out of like 200 streets in Jaffa. And they asked themselves what to do with the streets that were not existent before 1948, or that they couldn't discover the names. So they decided to have a list of potential names for streets of like important people, Palestinian women of significance, other things that they thought are suitable for street names. And you can have, for those streets who are not there, you can have a new name to rename your it's for your building, it's for your house to put. And this is a kind of project that comes out from a change agent course. So this came out from the Mixed Cities course.
How does the government react to that? It's beginning, you know. I don't know how many only dozens people bought those signs, but it's like you put it out your window. There's not supposed to be. Rachel had a history of activism, and it had a part of it that had specific experience in science. And the project she did before was to go for the official street signs and to change them, not to historically, but to have some kind of manipulation to them. And then it was really quickly like corrected by not the government, but by the municipality. So after long discussions on this project, the decision was to go for the private part of public space. So people in the second and third floor can also buy those signs and like to hang them out of their balconies. You can have bigger signs for the higher floors. Wow. Would you say that the major driver for the School for Peace is to turn out peace activists to work on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict?
I think so. Like it's a consequence. What we want is people to change their awareness. We want people to change how they think, how they see the relations between Jews and Palestinians, how they see the conflict, and as a consequence of that, to act on it. It's quite similar to your story, Penny.
So,
Yeah, I think that once you have a change, once you had a change of perspective and you decided to act on it, make it a part of your life,
oh yeah,
you become kind of an activist.
yeah,
And this is what we want our graduates to be,
okay.
to have a stand, to have a moral stand on things, and to act for change. That's basically the idea. And I have one more sentence about that.
Of course.
This is, I think, the reason why I decided to come to talk to you. Because I feel your audience also have the potential to see things differently and then to act on it.
Yeah. Great. I don't think we can talk only about the school because where you're located, Wahat al Salam Neve Shalom, is such a unique place, although there's obviously mixed cities. Why don't you talk at least just a little bit about where you're located, because it's a very interesting place.
Okay, I just have one sentence before that,
Sure.
because we were talking like, how were you as a project director?
Mhm.
And the School for Peace is a very small organization of a constant staff of 5 people, most of them not in full-time positions, and then like 15 more facilitators who do those encounters. And this staff is amazing. Really, like now as a director, I can see it even more, but also as a staff member, I was like, wow, like people are so dedicated and so committed. And without that, like with this staff, we do work of many more people. We do work of, I don't know, of a much bigger organization. So really, I really appreciate them. And looking back, I'm thinking, wow, like as a project director, I was in charge of several projects and like really thinking about them all the time, recruiting people, which is like very, very difficult task in this political atmosphere. Yeah, I had to say it.
Yeah. Well, I certainly can relate to everything you say. I feel like who you work with are my people. All the peace activists that I interview, I've met are absolutely amazing people, hearts of gold, who are very open to confronting their own viewpoints and being able to listen to another's and not necessarily accept their viewpoint, but at least being willing to hear them and work with them. And I can really relate to what you're saying. So bless them all. I agree with you. But I like I said, I did, we're definitely going to speak more about the School of Peace, but I did want to also just mention where you're located, because it's a cool place that that doesn't exist in other places. So can you talk a little bit about the village?
Yes. Wahat Salam Neve Shalom is a mixed village. It's a community of maybe 90 families now. And they're split 50-50 between Jews and Palestinians. And we conduct our life as equally as possible. With all of the institutes of the village are shared. All the decision making is shared. And it's a really cool place and complex. And I chose to raise my children here, my two daughters. And it has a very unique connection to the School for Peace. And I will talk a little bit about that. It all started with a converted how do you say
Monk.
it? Monk.
Bruno
Converted.
Hussar. But it's important to distinguish because I think we find it very unusual. He actually converted from Judaism to
Yes.
being a monk.
He was converted from Judaism to being a monk while growing up in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And that very special person wanted to have interfaith discussions between Jews and Muslims and Christians on a hill outside of the Latrun monastery. And he collected a bunch of young people, and they came for those discussions on a circle of rocks on a hill. And after a while, those young people thought they should bring in more people for such discussions. And that was the beginning of the School for Peace. And quite quickly, the young people told Bruno that they are not interested in the interfaith perspective as much as they are interested in the Jewish-Palestinian perspective. And that was a development of the School for Peace. And the last development was that they started staying and sleeping on the hill, and later building their houses there. And that was the beginning. After there was School for Peace activities, then the Wahat Salam, Neve, Shalom as a village became a reality. And of course, it demanded, like the monastery allowing not only to have this kind of activity on its lands, but also like donating the land to have a village on it. And without that, there could not be Wahat Salam Neve Shalom, because really, this is an amazing fact. Since 1948, more than 800 Jewish kibbutzim, towns, cities, small points of settlements were started for Jews. And 0 places started for Arabs in Israel. And such a place could not have been started without the fact that the land was not a state land, as most of the lands in Israel are. And yeah, that's how the community started. And the School for Peace until today is a very meaningful institution within the village and speaking for the village.
Well, speaking of unusual, unique, open-minded situations also at the school is that, in fact, you were chosen when Nava Shonenshine, the former director, was leaving. You were chosen by the staff to lead them as the director. And I that's a very unusual situation. I wanted you to talk a little bit about what that process was like and how it made you feel.
The system in the School for Peace was that you go in to become a director for a certain term, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And then it changes between people in the staff. And how it made me feel. Okay. It made me feel it was a very special moment, understanding that those people support me being the director, their director. It was a show of confidence, and it is my first managerial position, and it gave me confidence that I could work with these people, which were my colleagues just now. And this feeling is until today. I really respect the people I work with. I really trust them. I feel we're doing a good job, and I feel that we're doing a good job in improving ourselves and looking critically at our work. And you can also only do this from a confident position.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. With all your challenges, of course.
Yeah.
I wanted to also get back to some of the other types of classes that you have. Here you have, if you could talk about the academic courses you have, and this one's at Rupin College. What is that?
Wow. Like, I started and I met the School for Peace in a university course. As it happens, this course is running for, I don't know, like 30 years already in Tel Aviv University.
Wow.
But in the last few years, there is a growing interest from other higher education institutions to have similar courses. And those courses are mainly dialogue in the School for Peace method, not without the action component, but with some of the learning component, like dependent on the discipline in which the faculty in which this course is run. So in Tel Aviv University, if the course is as it is in Tel Aviv, it's in the psychology department, then we learn about the social psychology of the encounter of identity and such things. In Rupin College, it's a mixture of nursing students and social studies. So they learn some things that are connected to that, and they have the dialogue. We have a course in Betzalel, which is a very famous art school in Jerusalem, and there we're in the architecture department. So there is dialogue, and then they learn about the connection between architecture and the conflict, which are it's an extremely interesting relation. And this program is really growing. Like only this semester, and in the first semester, we had like 6 courses, and we're going to have 3 more. So this year we will have 9 courses, and the interest is growing and growing. What we see here is getting to know each other activity, which is called the carousel, which one group, in this case, the Palestinians are in the inner circle facing out, and the Jews are in the outer circle facing in. The facilitators give a subject for discussion for a few minutes, and then the carousel revolves, moves, and let's say the outer circles move 1 spot to the left, and you get a new person to discuss a new subject. This is just a getting to know each other activity.
Sounds very cool. I wish I was a fly on the wall.
You're right.
So, and then we have here, oops, can you talk about this change agents course?
Yes, this change agents course for tour guides. It's in partnership with the Wahat organization. And what is this? It's the classic change agents course for a profession. So tour guides, Jews and Palestinians meet, and they have a dialogue. Then they learn how their profession, how to be a tour guide, which is more aware to the conflict and the history of the conflict. And because it's with Wahat, Wahat is an organization focused on the Palestinian Nakba. So this course is focused on how to make tours that are aware of the Palestinian Nakba. This picture is in Lifta, which is a ruined Palestinian village outside of Jerusalem, just outside of Jerusalem. And it was an amazing village. And today there are only ruins there, but it's still a very, very beautiful place. Yeah, it's sad.
And your classes on environmental justice?
Yeah, and the environmental justice, it's a very, very interesting course. We bring in, it reminds me to talk about, I just say bring in, but it's so hard to recruit people to commit to such a process. So we put a lot of energy to recruit people to our courses, to find the people who are open to go through such a process. It's very, very difficult. But like in this course, we bring in people who are working in the environmental issue. And in the last course, which is ongoing now, we have quite high-ranking people working in organizations or municipalities regarding the environmental issue, and they learn about how the environment is equal, actually. Like environmental issues influence people equally, and how some people suffer more from that because of their history, because of their means, and what kind of change is possible. And it's a very, very cool course.
And of course, you've got lawyers involved because there seems to be ample opportunity for lawyers to influence the way things go? What about those type of classes?
We have had in the last year, I think, 4 lawyers courses running, and we get people from all over, and there are many possibilities for influence. First of all, people kind of use us to make a transition from being a commercial lawyer into a human rights lawyer. There is no official training for that, but people need to learn, and this is a very great opportunity to learn and to network and to start understanding the issues. And there are very interesting projects that are emerging. One of them is how to influence the legal bar in Israel, which is a very powerful organization and a very right-wing, may I say, or at least mainstream. How to make it more aware to Palestinians, more aware to human rights. That's one of the project that is emerging there.
And the research center?
The research center is now going through like an evolution. It used to be a very strong center studying our method, the dialogue method, which I presented, was developed in the research center of the School for Peace. In the last few years, it studied like more general issues that are connected to the conflict. Like, I don't know if you heard about the nationality law.
No.
Which the nationality law was a very right-wing attempt to stress the Jewishness of the state. And because Israel doesn't have a constitution, like those kind of laws are possible. And like we had the conference, like this, the research center was trying to think, okay, what possible constitutions could we have that would allow a better relations, a better state, and all that, in light of this nationality law.
So that obviously causes contention. And speaking of contention, not everyone is happy about the school having both Jewish Israelis and Palestinians working together. And in September, as I had mentioned, 2020, you had 2 arson fires set that unfortunately actually burned down the school. And let me share this picture, this very sad picture here. And why don't you talk about that whole issue and what happened? And
yeah, and September 1st, 2020, an arson attack was committed, and the School for Peace was burned down. The classrooms were burnt down, and we still don't know who did it. And but there is evidence that it was an arson attack. The police closed the I don't know how you call it, closed the
Investigation?
investigation after 6 months.
Why, if they don't know who caused it, why would they do that?
I think this is what you do when you don't know who did something. No, like if you know who did it, and after the investigation, you can continue. And here they didn't have the investigation failed, and I tell you something even worse. Maybe after 2 days after that attack, like the School for Peace changed. We changed our auspices to another building in the village, to the Peace Library, which was vacant for us, or which was vacant, and we could use it. And then 2 days later, that building was also there was an attempted arson here, which was only because it's a new building with sprinklers and fire alarm and all that. It was only damage to the furniture and to some of the books, but not to the building. So we were really feeling haunted. I went around with a headache for several weeks, and this is when I became director.
Oh, welcome to management. Oh my goodness. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing at the irony that you have big shoulder pads, I hope.
And I was not aware that what would happen is that we went into a very big campaign using, thanks to the Communications and Development Office of the village. We managed to raise more than $1 million for the rebuilding of the School for Peace. And now we are having the task of really building it. And this is something I didn't plan on when I took the job.
Maybe some of those architects that you will help you in your school.
Yes, they did help us actually with finding an architect and with the process. Yeah, you're right.
So when do you think the school will be rebuilt?
I hope that in a year from now, or maybe a bit more. I don't know if you're aware, but there is inflation going on. And it's not sure that the money we collected would be enough. And it's like we're trying to figure this out as well.
But even so, all along you've been still running the school just from different buildings, and it's still going on. I want people to know that. And then, of course, like the whole world, we've got COVID. And now COVID did provide some opportunities for you because of the lack. I mean, a lot of things weren't being used, a lot of space wasn't being used, so you were able to move into those locations and so on. You want to talk a little bit, or also online, how you managed continuing the school anyway?
I think one of the things is more than handling COVID, is handling COVID restrictions, which were constantly changing and surprising and unpredictable. So first of all, we had a new space, which is like an open space. We installed shading to have an open space, because under restrictions you can have, in certain times we could have only activities in an open space. So we had this shading, and then we bought like heaters that would allow us to use it in the winter. It was really a process. Then there was indoors, number restrictions. So you could have like 10 people meeting. So we had like a plastic divider inside the classroom to have our groups, which are usually like 18 or 20 people. We could work with them in the two sides of the divider, like having one discussion, these kinds of things. And then, working in between we had several, I don't know how you call them, like when you're not allowed to leave the house.
Yeah.
Like there were very severe restrictions.
Yes, I know what you mean. But the word's escaping me now too, but I know what you mean, that you had to stay inside and not travel restrictions, essentially.
Yeah. So we needed to do our activities in between those restrictions. So meetings and encounters were postponed or moved online. And we managed
so with all your Herculean efforts, you continue. I did want to, I mean, you've been around for over 40 years and have had thousands of graduates. And I did want to talk about your large emphasis now on the graduates, and that March 3rd and 4th, coming up very soon, you have this big graduate conference called Activism Between Separation and Collaboration in Wahat Salam, Neve, Shalom. And it's a big, huge, great event for your school. So let's end on that. Let's end on what's providing your future.
Look, I was surprised today. I checked in and there are 110 registered participants.
Wonderful. Mazel tov.
No, it's really, really amazing. And we're going to have discussions, and we're going to really
what type of
discussions about activism, how it should be done ideologically and practically. Should it be, how important it is, for example, how important it is that certain kinds of activism would be a collaboration between Jews and Palestinians. And maybe there are times where it should be separated. That separation is more important. And those kind of theoretical discussions for these people are really practical, like practical debates they have within themselves.
Yeah.
And we try to have like the surrounding to support them in that, and to continue doing their engagement with the situation, which is really saddening, which is really just bad, like we're finishing like with, like there's such a great conference or whatever, but people who are aware, they live with this every day.
Yeah. Yeah. So for your final question, describe what you'd like to be the direction you'll be headed in for the School of Peace in 5 years. In 5 years, what would you like to be working on?
I would like to work on helping a large number of people were asking us for help on how to do their shared activity, how to have a different public space, how to have a different institution. Like now we're working against resistance. Like people want to be engaged, people want to be activists, people want to think the relations and the conflicts are important. They work against resistance. And I dream that the School for Peace would offer our expertise for people who are willingly want, for institutions and for entrepreneurs and whatever, that they just want to have things different. And we would go with the flow, that our ideology would be a part of the flow. That's what I want us to be.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Roy. It's great to hear that there are so many people willing to study the relationships between the groups so they can help to bring about peace and be willing to put out the effort to take actions for the next steps. Next week, we'll be talking with Shefa Vanstein, co-founder and president of Regeneration Education, and turn our focus to people working with the next generations who are burdened with ultimately solving this problem. Regeneration Education advances peace building through innovative approaches to the education, development, and resilience of young children in crisis zones so they are able to imagine and create a better future. Many children, especially those in Israel and the West Bank, are affected by toxic stress. Violent conflict and poverty are the most common culprits. Toxic stress harms a child's life in many ways: brain development, academic achievement, and mental and physical health. Even their likelihood of committing violent crimes increases. Perhaps the most tragic side effect is the stalled development of empathy, a foundation for peace building. Regeneration Education addresses childhood toxic stress for Jewish, Christian, and Muslim children by partnering with and co-sponsoring trauma-informed schools for children in Israel and the West Bank, hosting conferences and trainings focused on educating children in crisis zones for Western and Middle Eastern kindergarten and elementary school teachers, initiating and building interfaith networks in the U.S. that model healing in the Middle East. We hope you'll join us as we discuss how healing the wounds of this generation is essential to taking the next steps forward toward peace. And for now, we close wishing that you all live in peace, shalom, and salam.